After weeks, I may have done that 1 second too early. After weeks and possibly a month of teases and planting the seeds, now we seem ready for a full-blown Hangman Page MJF rivalry. And I will say for myself that I could not be more excited for it. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of AEW Dynamite, the week of February 12th, 2025. Welcome, one and all. Get your thoughts in. Talk in the live chat. If you want them read out on the show, send them in to WrestleTalk.com/support at the $5 limit, and your comments will be read out on the show. I am, of course, your host, Tempest, alongside my lovely and wonderful co-host. We are the House of the Black Mask. I'm wearing a hat. It's Sat E Nyangi on the Sat E Day. Talk to him, Sat.
Happy Sat E Day. It is I, your Chief Vibe Officer, Sat E Nyangi, in the building on a beautiful, glorious Sat E Day with my guy, the hardest working guy in all of WrestleTalk, in all of PFK, in all of Trident. Ladies and gentlemen, Tempest B, Canada, Bayne B. And of course, before we go,
they lost their tag titles this week.
I know, they lost it to LFI Japón.
LFI? Get out of here. It's just LIJ. What's wrong with you?
Who's LFI?
LFI is the one in AEW. It's Roosh and his group.
Listen, same branch from the same family tree.
It's literally a different branch. What are you talking about?
I've mistaken cousins. Wait, it's the same thing. It's like Roosh got banned from CMLL, and he's like, I'm keeping whatever intellectual property I can keep.
Keeping the word ingobernables.
Yeah.
Yes, anywho, welcome one and all. We're gonna be here having a very good time reviewing another pretty darn good episode of AEW Dynamite. So, as said, make sure you get in your chats, both live and in the Ultra Chats. And if you're watching on Catch Up, make sure you comment down below and subscribe to the WrestleTalk Podcast channel if you haven't already. Stay notified every time that we go live. Let's get into this review.
Yes, sir.
Because this has been teased for a very long time. They had, time and time again, just face-to-face confrontations or bumping into each other backstage, did Hangman Page and MJF. And it was very clear that this is going to be the next major feud, but MJF has been occupied here and there, as has Hangman Page.
Side quests.
They've been going on side quests, and we've seen a number of them culminate on this show. Potentially, there's still one more thread to be tied off, and I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't been, but we'll get into that, because the opening of this show, we had like a nice little montage of people getting prepared for their matches throughout the night. The big matches, the tag title match between the Hurt Syndicate and the Guns. It felt a little bit more like what Collision's production kind of feels like. You know, how they open with the cold open promos. Mm-hmm. They didn't cut promos, but it was a cold open to a bunch of different warm-up deals. So it was different. It was fun. They're tinkering with it, and they'll find something that works perfectly for them. And I look forward to that. But once we got through that, we had our opening match as Max Caster put forth his open challenge, see who's on the level of the best wrestler alive, and who should answer his call but Hangman Page. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to blame anybody, myself included, for hoping that maybe this was going to be a return or a big star or surprise of some sort. But no, it was simply logical booking. That was, you know what? I will take that any day of the week, because Hangman Page and Max Caster, of course, had their interaction last week, and Max Caster was chased through the building by Hangman Page. So now Hangman finally caught up to him. I said in the edited review, it's like back in the day, I want to say this is like maybe 05 or so in TNA, and they had their weekly show. So whenever that started, weekly show, AJ Styles has like a plaque from like Pro Wrestling Illustrated or something, and a heel, I think it was Shannon Moore, stole the plaque from him, and AJ spent the rest of the show chasing him, looking for the plaque, and then they went to the pay-per-view on the weekend, and AJ was still chasing him. Like they'd been doing this chase for 3 days. That's what was happening here with Hangman Page and Max Caster. He was chasing him for a week straight. So this was pretty much the same beatdown that he got at the hands of Swerve. Because, again, I think that role fits Max Caster pretty well at this point. This sniveling dick heel who is able to be squashed in a really satisfying way. That I'm totally fine with. But as soon as Hangman Page's music hits, Max Caster jumps the guardrail. He goes and he hides amongst a bunch of fans. He grabs a sign. He's like, no, not me. But everybody, this was a good crowd. You know, they've had good crowds of late. So everybody playing along, just being like, he's right here. Bunch of narcs. they get this man, and Hangman chases him around. But of course, Hangman gets back in the ring. And this is where Max Caster gets his like 1 minute heat segment, beats him down a little bit, poses, and then Hangman Page rises, beats the piss out of him, hits the buckshot lariat, and wins. And that is your opening segment. Of course, Max Caster like holds up his little certificate to say he's the best wrestler alive, even after getting squashed.
I know. Polarizing individual. This is not me doing a bit of where I have to be contrary to everyone else's popular opinion. I get why he's annoying, but he plays his part so well. Maybe because he's genuinely like that. Yes, he's a weasel, but an effective weasel. He can talk, he can get heat on himself, and I think they found a good role for him because, like you said, you wanted a return, you wanted a debut, and I feel like that's still yet to happen with his open challenges.
Yep. And
there's this guy who's deluded to call himself the best wrestler alive. They got certificated. I thought that's actually pretty cool because you know it's a heat segment that eventually a popular babyface, maybe a Wardlow. Maybe I'm looking to a future Wardlow comes and smashes up his plaque. I don't know. You remember that guy Wardlow? Yeah. Anyway, I feel like he plays his part really well and it works. I just want to point that out. As like as much as he's grating and annoying in real life, he's parlayed that annoyance into an effective character.
I agree. Honestly, I don't have any problem with what he's doing right now. If he was like winning matches half of the time, I probably would have gotten tired of it. It might have felt just like a little bit like a waste of time, but he's just a sniveling heel that gets the absolute piss beaten out of him at every opportunity by the biggest stars. I think it also helps that these big segments where he's just gotten beaten on have been with like Swerve and Hangman Page, so there's an added level of star power that kind of comes with those segments. So a thumbs up for sure. But this would not be the last time that we would see Hangman Page on this show, because backstage later on, MJF is going to cut a promo, and he gets about 2 lines in talking about, you know, Dustin Rhodes and not being on the level of the devil and all this stuff. And this is where Hangman Page walks in, and he's like, "Get out." Now, like as soon as that happened, I went, "Do you know who you're talking to?" Me, the guy who loves Hangman Page and plays the part of hating this character MJF and all that. To go up to other established, you're not talking to Max Caster telling him to get out of your room, don't interrupt your interview, or let me take this space. This is MJF, who is, you know, push-wise on the same level as Hangman Page, I would say. And you just see this, like, unstoppable force, immovable object where it's like, no, we are now face-to-face, and this is now our chance to give Max a little bit more to sink his teeth into. Because, again, we've gotten little glimpses of it. When they did their backstage deal and Hangman brushes him off and goes by, and he's just like, oh, everybody, Hangman did nothing wrong, but if I so much as breathe right, like you can tell the insecurity of his character is what's getting to him here. And I love that. I love when Max has things to play with. And he sure has a lot. This is going to be a fantastic feud. We got the first real little chunk of it here. And he talks about how Hangman, he's going to do what Hangman's never been able to do, and that's become a 2-time AEW World Champion. He said that Hangman Page is walking around with no friends like a lost puppy, and he could tell that he was coming in because, oh, is that cologne or is that just Jack Daniels? And they're getting chippy with it a little bit, and they come face to face, and then that's kind of the end of the segment. Again, I cannot state enough that if this is a sign of things to come, I'm so excited for this feud. I've been, you know, I say it's been a long time since I cared about the MJF feud. It was just the Adam Cole stuff. I loved what he did with Will, you know, going into All In. There's summer romance story, all that, Face of America. That was all good stuff. Maybe had a little rough go, you know, both falls of Adam Cole. It was not a good time for MJF. But when he gets into his character work and isn't just, you know, doing the heel shtick, you know, the heel shtick is a good foundation to go to, but to have the real emotional crux of your character be the focal point of these stories is where Max is at his best. We've seen it time and time again, and I have strong feelings that we're going to see it again in the future. And I will quickly now go through the next bit because this is where it really gets spicy. Because we had the big match between MJF and Dustin Rhodes. This was set up on last week's show with a good promo. I was happy to see Dustin Rhodes get to have a big match in his hometown. He had another match on Collision and cut a similar promo afterwards. Just straight into the camera. All good stuff. Perfect little mini feud for like a week or 2 weeks or however long since Dustin talked to Jeff Jarrett backstage. And they had a very simple but effective match in which they worked kind of an old school thing. It was very tit for tat. What you can do, I can do better. Because there was a point where MJF went for the... I don't know if he would have still have called it the crossroads, because when he does it, it's the double cross, you know, but that's way back when. He tried to go for that. Dustin kind of cuts him off, and Dustin hits a crossroads. Dustin goes for what used to be called the final cut. I think it's now called the final premiere or something.
Final Reckoning.
Final Reckoning. There you go. He hits one of those for a near fall, and then MJF hits one for a near fall. So it's very back and forth. What I can do, you know, what you can do, I can do better. And eventually, MJF manages to, you know, get the salt of the earth Fujiwara armbar on, and Dustin reaches and he claws and he gets so close to the ropes, and MJF pulls him back to the center of the ring, locks in a crossface, and Dustin passes out. And there's your finish. Good little match. Thought it was a very fun match. And enough was not enough for MJF, who beats him down afterwards, locks in the crossface again, and this is where Hangman Page's music hits, and they get in the ring, and MJF fakes like he's going to turn around, go, but he just double leg takedown, they go, and they start brawling. Now there's no more of this face-to-face, I'll see you down the road type stuff. Now they're going at it. They fight, they brawl, they go into the crowd, they work their way up on top of one of the aisles, and it looks like MJF is going to throw Hangman Page over the precipice, and they kind of get split up and pulled apart, and they get taken to separate parts of the arena by the security. Max works his way back down to the ring. He gets on the mic, and he says he's not going to face me because he sucks, and he's a gutless coward. And on cue, Hangman Page comes back through the curtain, and they fight a little bit more until they're broken up and they go to commercial. And it is announced that next week we're going to have a proper face-to-face, a promo off between Hangman Page and MJF. Sat, I am so excited.
We're so back. MJF, when he's given layers, he can be transcendent as a performer. I think that's the reason why, if there's ever times when some people get down on MJF, it's because everyone knows what he can do. And it's like, you're so much better than that. You're so evolved. Like, when he taps in, he's one of the best to do it. And the reason we're so excited, this feud is going to remind people of that. When he doesn't have to rely on low-hanging fruits and sticky heel, gimmick and persona. When you give him layers where he can tap into real-life emotions, that's when his feuds are the best. That's why the feud with Punk worked really well. That's why his feud with anyone but Adam Cole kind of worked. When he
the Regal promo.
The Regal promo, yeah. So what I like is there's so many words or descriptions I'll use, and I loved it. For the first thing that was used by MJF, it was like killer instinct is what he said. Was trying to say that that Adam Page lacked. Is like, you don't have the killer instinct. It's not in you. Look at you brooding and moping about because your conscience is kicking in. Because that's what's been happening last month. It's kind of like an anime or animation where Adam Page's heart shrank, so he was able to do things like burn, Swerve's house and take out Christopher Daniels, take out, Jeff Jarrett. But over the last few weeks, ever since he defeated Christopher Daniels, his heart has been growing. And then when he had Christopher Daniels, instead of Christopher Daniels, I think if Christopher Daniels was tit for tat, like you hurt me that I had to retire, he showed love to him, like, what, dude? I retire. I just don't want any part of this. Like, it kind of made him realize, wow, like, I've strayed so far from who I was that I no longer recognize myself. So he had a moment of clarity, but then he remembered that his heart is what got him in trouble in the first place. Him being earnest and being warm and loving is what led to him having Swerve break into his house, place a t-shirt on his son's head, and led to him losing his AEW title because he wouldn't use the belt on Punk when he had the chance. Him leading a righteous path is what led to his downfall, led to him losing his friends. So that's why his heart had to shrink. He had to become the monster that he's been fighting. He had to become it in order to protect himself. But now he's at a crossroad where he's struggling. And I do hope we don't get the old Hangman of old. I love the Hangman of old, but I do love evolution of character. I do want an anti-hero version of Hangman. I felt like that's what we got when MJF was taking out Dustin Runnels and his music hit and he's walking out like a badass. I was like, man, I'm getting that shades of Stone Cold when you got like a badass in his leather just walking down. And this is the guy that you can have be the franchise player of the company, because each time when you see Hangman Page, it's without a doubt, is inevitable, it's undeniable that he is the guy you should go with. Every time he's like a focus in AEW, it's always a highlight. He's never been a dud. Every time he's put in something. I'm happy they've now got rid of Angry Man, because at one point he became one-dimensional, especially during the feud with the Death Riders, the brief moment he was involved. This version of Hangman we're getting is the most interesting he's been since the Swerve feud. And a lot of people will say this is the first time they're facing each other. No, they've had number one contender matches or wherever it is, but this is the first time they're actually having an actual feud, and it is impressive for a company that's been around for like 5-6 years to actually have something like this.
Yes.
So I'm impressed. I am happy. You're getting two OGs of AEW that were there from the beginning. Duke it out. Two, young guys of AEW. I'll say young guys, but they are young veterans. That's the best way to describe them. The young vets of the company that have grown. They've grown as performers in the company, both former world champions. And nothing I like is the word one-hit wonder. They don't want to be a one-hit wonder. I loved it when Dustin Runnels made it a thing. Like, if you've only won one world title and never won ever again or whatever, you're a one-hit wonder. And I was like, I like that. Is a caveat for MJF, because a lot of people are saying, where does MJF fit in 2025 AEW? He's done it all. He's been a heel. He's been a babyface. He's been a tweener. He's done comedy shtick. He's done musicals. What's left? And the fact they say he doesn't want to be a one-hit wonder is almost like a mission statement of what is going to be MJF's 2025. Because Hangman's got a lot to sink his teeth into. Because he's so layered, you never have to worry about Hangman. But MJF was running the risk of, like, he's run out of material. But this feud could reignite the spark of people wanting to see MJF in a spot that he should be in.
I couldn't have said it better, honestly. I think you're right. I think Hangman Page and MJF fit so well together. Not only because, we talked about like MJF being this character that when he speaks from a place of real hurt or insecurity or whatnot, that is where he's at his best. But usually that's because of like somebody else who he has perceived doing that wrong to him, right? This is slightly different in that he is now looking at it as, his insecurity is coming from the fans embracing him, kind of similar to what we've seen with him and Will Ospreay last year. Like, why does Hangman get a pass while all this? What I'm really excited for, though, because we've seen a lot of great material come out of Max in those situations, whether it be Punk or Regal or Ospreay or whoever. It's very rare that you see Max go up against someone who is equally as insecure in their own way. And there you have like a whole other side to the coin to play with here. Bingo. There is so much material that they can tap into. And it's not even just what I'm anticipating Max saying that excites me. I'm excited to see how Hangman then responds to that. Because like you said, this is the most interesting that Hangman has been since the Swerve feud, without a doubt. I am so excited to see those layers return to his character. We've already seen it, since the Christopher Daniels match, but to see it in a big time feud, like, I will say, just for the sake of fairness, because we do criticize AEW for this a lot of the time, you said that how impressive is it, that like Hangman and MJF have been kept apart for like 5-6 years so far, and I do agree, but I do just want to point out this is the same company where like we were angry that like Santana and Ortiz versus the Lucha Brothers never happened. Yeah. So it's kind of on a case-by-case basis where it's like when it works and you can see the restraint to not just do all your big matches in the first couple of years and put this one way down the road and come back to it when you're ready. When that works out, it works marvelously. And it results in a first-time feud like this happening in 2025 between these two guys who I saw wrestle. They had the first Diamond Ring final match in 2019. That's how long ago that was. to now see them have their first feud, I think is really good. But also the other side of that coin is sometimes things don't work out, and then you never get Kenny Omega versus half of the big free agents that come in.
If the bidding war thing did actually come to fruition, we could have lost this feud from happening.
Absolutely. So, two sides, just wanted to play fair on that. But I cannot express my excitement enough for this. And I think immediately you see how much bigger a star MJF feels like when he is put opposite someone of equal star power.
Bingo.
I enjoyed the Jeff Jarrett deal for a little bit. It ran its course with me rather quickly, and I've not been shy about that. And I was very much into this Dustin Rhodes thing, but I've also been ready for MJF to be weekly character going against one of the other top stars in the company. Now we're going to get that, it seems. Jeff Jarrett just hasn't come back since he lost to Claudio, and it's a little strange.
It's a bit awkward.
I was expecting Jeff to make the save for Dustin after the match, and then maybe you do that match either at Grand Slam or you announce it for Revolution. You blow off the feud so we can go to MJF and Hangman. And I'm not necessarily that upset if we just don't. If we kick that can way down the road and do the fun thing now.
Oh no! I mean, if you think about it, it's funny. If you think in a lot of ways, who's a young punk former world champion to disrespect Jeff Jarrett? Oh, Hangman Page and MJF. I do feel like if they are going through this mild redemption arc, you could argue Jeff Jarrett could arrive any week now, have that match on TV, lose to MJF, get his block knocked off, and then you have Hangman Page save him and to show some sort of like, hey, last year was a penis. I am atoning for that kinda because he's not gonna, because he's not Hangman of old where he'll come out, wear his heart on his sleeve and be a nice guy. He's just kind of like, it is like a old film noir character where you don't want to show you have heart. You got a heart of gold in there somewhere, but you're like, I'm a miserable old man. I didn't save you. You just happen to be in the way, and I just you make up all the excuses not to admit that you really got a heart of gold underneath. I feel like it would be that kind of situation. It may not be, but Jeff Jarrett does have history with both men, so I wouldn't be shocked if he plays a part of the storyline.
I agree. I'd be shocked if he doesn't come back into it in some way. But let's hear what you had to think about all of this wrestling greatness between MJF and Hangman Page. Again, get in your Ultra Chats, or your Omega Chats, rather. I've been doing this for a long time. Get them into WrestleTalk.com/support. We will read out all the ones that are $5 and above before the end of the show. Like this one from Will Campbell, who says, I think this feud is perfect for these two. Also, my favorite bit of the promo before Max's match with Dustin is when Max lets the facade drop and lets the anger at the fans still believing in Hangman show as the aggression slowly drains from Page's face. That right there is a perfect appetizer for what I want the entire feud's promos to be. Because you can do so much with just MJF's feelings towards the fans.
Bingo.
I can't. And to think, because Hangman turned his back on the fans in the summer. That great promo we cut backstage where he said he threatened my family and they cheered him for it. He needs to have his full circle moment with the fans still loving him. And I can't wait to see it.
Ooh, can I do this one?
Absolutely.
From Mayor of Painesville, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
He says, hello, Sat. Hello, Tempest. Hope you're doing well. MJF has kicked out of a back-to-back unnatural kick and a final reckoning. That has never happened before. The armor of the best wrestler alive is cracked. My boy Dustin needs to get his revenge. I love you, Dan.
I don't think he will. Maybe he'll get his revenge with more bad AI art on Twitter.
All I want to say is the word ride or die. If you see in a dictionary and you need a picture, that's Dan.
That is Mayor of Painesville Dan for his favorites. Regarding the rest of the show, Kevin says, F it, give Harley Cameron everything. That segment was so good. I didn't like when she used to rap when she was with QTV because it was just out of nowhere. But with everything that happened until now, that was perfectly done. She has come a long way. Yep.
What? Listen, Kevin, if you will. Whatever, man. You know what? Because I've been on the bandwagon since day one, all right? Her rapping is not different. She's still rapping the same. It's just that you guys weren't feeling her in the beginning. So now you're on the bandwagon. Her rap sounds like, Socrates or something like that now. But she's always been rapping the same. She's always been the same entertaining person. It's because you didn't know her. It's just this weird Australian lady that came out of nowhere with QTV. You associated QT Marshall Stink with Harley. But Harley's always been great. You're just knowing it now.
Brother, I'll be honest, sometimes I do not agree with some of the takes that you have. And that has shown through on these podcasts.
Yeah.
But when you're right, I will absolutely give you your flowers. You deserve a pat on the back.
Well, for saying that.
Well, just like if you're the first one on the Harley Cameron bandwagon, then yeah, that's a win for you.
Yes.
I'm not giving you the same props for carrying cross. You know what I mean?
I'm still that bandwagon. Listen, there's a few of us on there. It's like, I look at Tempest, I'm like, Tempest, look, it's actually getting, there's people here. And Tempest's like,
not having it.
Yeah, I'm not getting it on. Tempest, I saved you a seat. Cobwebs on my seat on the carrying cross train. But the Harley Cameron train, I was there from day one because she reminds me of iconic. It's like you get both of the women, put them together, and then you get Harley Cameron. She is super talented. Her backstory, if you read up on it, you'll be like, everyone says the same sentiment. She is too good for wrestling.
Yeah, brother.
And whatever that means is like, as in she supersedes it. She's got the star quality that we can't keep. We cannot, I feel like the way her brain operates, 5 years, she's out of the business. As in, this is like a cool thing. She's trying. She said it. It's like, I wasn't good at a lot of things. We're going to talk about it later, actually. And we're going to save that portion later. But Kevin, thank you.
Yeah. And I agree. I didn't like QTV either. And she was running QTV, and I didn't really give it much more attention, and I should have. But Kevin also goes on to say, good episode overall. Very intrigued by the interaction between Nana and Swerve and where this will lead. MJF and Hangman will have me seated. Let them fight. Also, F off, Jericho. Stop trying to make every little cool thing your thing and make it worse. We're going to get to that.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things to get into. Yeah.
There's a lot of things to still get into. We've covered a good amount of the show, but we're going to get into the rest of it. So, again, make sure you get in the rest of your Ultra Chats to WrestleTalk.com/support. And we'll go through the rest of them by the time we get through this show. So, after the match between Hangman Page and Max Caster early in the show, we had a vignette with Ricochet in his Eagles green, of which I kind of am wearing. It's not quite the same, but it's pretty close.
I can see it. Trust my eyes.
It wasn't intentional, but I was cheering for the Eagles, so I will take it. What can I say? I'm a heel. He said that he's done. He's moving on to bigger and better things after Swerve. But Swerve does not feel the same way. And this annoys Nana because Prince Nana is like, what are you doing, man? You got to have your eyes on the prize. You got to get your world championship back. You got to be focused on Jon Moxley. And Swerve is like, I'm not done until I get an eye for an eye. And Ricochet still wearing his jacket, his big robe by the end. So this will continue, and I'm very excited for it too. But maybe some tensions building between Swerve and Nana. I don't know if they're going to break up or nothing like that. I don't even know if this is a tease of that.
I got things I got things I want to say. Number one, Ricochet looks like a member of Nation of Islam, how he's dressed. I just wanted to say that. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Number two, good promo by Ricochet. Since he's been given some urgency, it's almost been like a different wrestler.
Absolutely.
Number two, or three, Swerve is right. I mean, Hangman Page beat him, then Lashley beat him, then Ricochet beats him. Why doesn't he get his lick back? And I understand him. And I understand what Nana means. It's like, hey, dude, the world championship. But no, he's meant to be the most dangerous man in AEW. You can't be the dangerous man in AEW with loose ends. Gotta tie him. And what you said about Nana, you know what? Yeah, last week I had this weird thought in the shower. Imagine me in the shower, guys. Go along with it. Oh, I was like, if I was Vince Russo, I would have Nana turn on Swerve and go with Ricochet. Thank God I'm not Vince Russo. And I got out the shower and I just went about my business. But when you said there's tension there, what better way? Because as much as Nana's worked as a babyface miraculously, because I didn't, I've always known him as a heel. He's always been the guy that turns on his clients if they're no longer useful. What best way to go back to the old Nana of when a guy's no longer useful? Again, 3 losses against Ops. You're not the dangerous guy that I knew to be. I might have to go with this train as well. Ricochet, baby. Maybe it's the symbolism. Maybe it's the nostalgia of Jimmy Rave. I don't know. But it's like, maybe there's symbolism to him wearing the jacket, but at the same time, do you have Swerve lose the second time? And that's when my theory goes out the window. But what you said did actually trigger that thought last week.
Very good. Honestly, I could see it going either way. Swerve, I don't think I think they are better together. I like the package of Swerve and Nana better than I think I like them apart. But I think both will survive apart because they're both so good.
Oh yeah, it is kind of hard. Like, I know what life was like pre-Nana.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I want post-Nana.
Yeah,
life without Nana.
Yeah. We then had an AEW Trios Championship match. First one since November. These belts do exist. And it was indeed the Death Riders versus the Undisputed Era. Yes. I don't care. It's easy. It's easier this way. The Kingdom part of them is gone.
Is that official?
I think so. Everybody's saying that, they just kind of quietly wrote out Bennett and Taven from the story, which I think is a little strange.
My idea was so great. Join MJF. It was right there for the guys to turn it on Adam Cole, go with MJF. Then you get the original UE boys together. Then you have UE versus the Kingdom. And it's a Kingdom versus the Kingdom. You could have done that. So that way, they still be on TV because they're jerks. Matt Taven has jerk energy.
Sure does.
And making him as an underling for MJF would have been great. But no, don't listen to Sat.
It's fine. It just meant that feud didn't get extended any longer than it already needed to be.
True.
Instead, we got this trios match, and it was a fun little trios match. Early on, they got the heat on Kyle. They kind of beat him down, and it eventually built until Roddy Strong got a fantastic hot tag. He was getting his backbreakers in. He was slamming the Death Riders onto one another. This was good stuff, and I was a little surprised that I didn't feel like they ever really built to the big Adam Cole hot tag, because I typically can kind of see, if you do things like this where you do multiple quick tags in a row, which is what came after the Roddy Strong hot tag, and it leaves Adam Cole as kind of the last one, and then he gets beat down, you can then kind of start the cycle again without the big Adam Cole hot tag, and that can still be the pinnacle of the match. That's not really ever what happened. But we get to the later stages of the match, and the Undisputed Era appear very much poised to win these tag titles. They just keep hitting all their big combinations. They go high-low. They hit the series of kicks that ends with Kyle O'Reilly's penalty kick. And each time, they start getting closer and closer on the near falls, and they just keep getting broken up. And it is the Death Riders again and again and again that just... They're somehow still managing the numbers game against these folks. They're always around in the right places. They're able to sneak through the crack, to break up the pin, even with people kind of standing guard. And it's in all of this mayhem that finally the referee is distracted enough for Wheeler Yuta to hit a low blow on Kyle O'Reilly and roll him up for the pin. I thought it was a good match. I did not necessarily think going in that the UE/UK boys... see, that's also the reason I don't want to call them that. Because if I shorten it to UK and none of them are from the UK, then I feel strange. It's bad in my brain.
It's associate.
Yeah, it's weird. But while I didn't think that they were going to win the trios titles, narratively, unless they wanted to go a direction starting from now of if they lost their trios titles, then Mox would go to them and be like, you're losing sight, or get your eye on the ball, or whatever you would say. That could be the direction, but I have had no signs that that's the direction we're going leading up to this, so I wasn't exactly expecting it. It was a very good match. I bought into a number of the near falls at the end, but the Death Riders win the trios titles, or retain them.
I have gripes about this.
Yeah. I want this division to be revitalized a little bit. I've always wanted that. It's been a while. Especially with other trios like we saw on this show, that I think these belts could be a really big highlight, and they're not right now.
Why was the trios title in boarding school? Can someone tell me about that? It's been missing for a while. Went to boarding school, grab boarding school, put on TV. All right, so this is what I want to say about Undisputed Kingdom. There's been so much discourse about putting Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly back together. They've been saying, oh, why are you going to the well? It's diminishing returns. I'm a 90s baby. I grew up on 10,000 Four Horsemen reunion. I grew up on DX reunions. I grew up in NWO iterations. So for me, it doesn't bother me. For me, it makes sense. Even when I might use Shawn Michaels and Triple H as an example. So for the majority of like the Ruthless Aggression era, they were rivals. But there was also part of me was like, man, it would be great if these two would stop beating each other for like 50 minutes. And boring me to tears and team up and just do crotch chops together. I felt the same way when I saw Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole in the same company. They're friends. I don't know why people are hating on friends teaming up. It's like people are trying to create logic out of this. It's like, it's weird. They're friends. They've been tag teams. They've been rivals. They've been in groups together, multiple iterations in AEW. Why not try it again? When Kyle O'Reilly came back with his depression Beethoven hair, which I was never a fan of. I know people liked him with longer hair, but it just looked like it screamed depression. It was just long, curly, had a weird part like Beethoven, wasn't really feeling it. Then he had a haircut. But there was something missing from Kyle O'Reilly. The Kyle O'Reilly that people used, that 5 minutes, he was a solo wrestler in AEW before he got injured. People played that match with Darby Allin over and over again. Said, oh, Kyle O'Reilly's special when he comes back. Oh, then he came back and it was like, oh. This guy's been out for a while, and you can tell he's trying to find himself again because it wasn't the same. The guitar solos are gone. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to be serious. I was like, oh, you can't. I don't care. Give me Cool Kyle. Give me Cool Kyle. No.
I never need to see Cool Kyle ever again. Bring in Von Wagner as his tag partner.
No. That's
They'll go and they'll work out in the woods or something.
No, that's what they associate the character with now, but it wasn't like that in the beginning. But what I'm trying to say is he lost his mojo. And Adam Cole, when he came back, it's like he lost his mojo. And when you put it back together, like, two mojo-less guys, especially when Kyle O'Reilly had another group. You're like, wait, you're conglomeration guy now. What are you doing? And they had that convoluted, weird bickering thing about Roderick Strong, who was the one that did turn on Kyle in the first place. It was so convoluted that I understand why people are poo-pooing him. But for me, there's always magic when these guys are back together. Since they've started the trios thing and pretended the other two members don't exist anymore, they've been great. The match has been hitting, and I was like, I am ready for a reset of the trios title, because had they won, it would have reset things. We're now in 2025. This is not summer of 2024 when the titles was won and has been done, much has been done. This is for me is Private Party versus Young Bucks again in, was it Wrestle Dream Full Gear? Wherever that match, was it Full Gear?
Wrestle Dream.
Yes. Should have done the change there, because now they're prolonging it, because now you've got Daniel Garcia and then you've got, 2.0, and it's like, what's their involvement? It's like, I'm done. Death Riders, you had your chance with the trios title. You done nothing with it. Please, there's so many trios that I'm ready for a change. That's all I wanted to say. I'm a UK guy, figuratively and literally. And they should have won the title, because at least Adam Cole finally won the title. Like, it's like, how many years has he been in the company? It's like, what have you got to show for it? That Owen Cup, that one time he won. Give him something. Roddy's like, I've won singles gold. You guys need to catch up.
I don't disagree. Honestly, I just didn't think that much about it, because I didn't think that they were going to win going in. But, like, they certainly could have. I want these trios titles to feel important again, and currently they don't. But we'll get on to that very shortly as well. Because after this match, as you said, Daniel Garcia and 2.0 kind of ran off the Death Riders. They've been in a little, like, three-way feud, trios feud on Collision. It's actually been one of the bigger highlights of Collision as of late, and Collision has been quite good. And it's been with them and Shane Taylor Promotions and such. It's all solid stuff, but maybe that three-way feud would mean a little bit more if there were trios titles involved. Who's to say? But then we cut backstage to Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir walking around, and Jon Moxley gets jumped by Cope and Jay White. And Cope's wearing his red and black Mick Foley looking flannel. And I'm like, that's very Canadian of you, my friend. And they hit Jon Moxley with a chair, and they kind of barricade the door so that Marina Shafir can't get out, and they take the briefcase and they run off. And Moxley's pissed off and and that's where we leave it there. And then, speaking of trios, we had a trios match between three dudes, one of which I can't remember the name of, but the other two were Aaron Solo and John Cruz.
And a friend.
Yeah, it's Aaron Solo, John Cruz, and Guy. Apologize to you, Guy, but I didn't catch the name. But they take on Hook, Shibata, and Samoa Joe. Now, this was never going to be anything more than a squash match. And as soon as I saw this lineup, I was like, is there going to be something here between Samoa Joe and John Cruz? Because everybody, anybody that is terminally online will know John Cruz is the one where when Samoa Joe did his nope, walk away, no sell spot, John Cruz is the one who did the dive and was like, hey, where you going? Like he shrugged on the way down. It's a good meme. We love that. And this is the first time they've been in the ring together since then. So maybe there's going to be something. And sure enough, it was brought up on commentary and it played into the finish.
You think you're special.
You do.
I can see it in your vision because I don't want to get demonetized.
He doesn't want to get demonetized. I was like, oh, you messed up one of the... Oh, you're doing this on purpose. Of course. But yeah, this was just going to be a very simple squash match. Each of the three baby faces gets a bit of a chance to shine. They just hit some moves. And eventually Samoa Joe is the one that tags in. He is with John Cruz. They say on commentary that longtime rival of Samoa Joe, but Samoa Joe doesn't know it. It's John Cruz. And he just gets hit with a muscle buster and pinned. I appreciate the nod. As someone who remembers this sort of thing, it just the little attention to detail, it's like fan service. I like a little bit of fan service. Fan service can't make a movie,
no,
but it can make a movie better.
Yes.
So this was very fun. And then Samoa Joe got on the mic afterwards and dubbed this trio the Ops, which is interesting.
And if you're struggling, remember the song by Naughty by Nature, OPP. PP. No 1P, 2P.
Yep. But they challenged the patriarchy to a trios match next week, which also might be a little better with some trios titles on the line. There's like a few really solid trios feuds going on right now. And unfortunately, the belts are just being held captive by a bunch of people that don't wrestle as a team very often. But overall, I love this presentation. The whole Hook and patriarchy thing is so much more palatable when Samoa Joe is there. And I think it is just knowing like who needs to be a focal point of things like this. I don't want to see Hook doing this kind of promo. I want to see Samoa Joe do it. So thumbs up for me.
Yeah, because there's still a lack of character development with Hook. After all these years, who is Hook outside of a bag of chips and looking all mean with his luscious hair? You're too handsome to be intimidating, my friend.
He's a handsome devil.
He's a handsome bastardo.
If it's in Spanish, it's not swearing. We then had Chris Jericho getting interviewed backstage. Now he says, oh, Brian Keith, it's okay that you didn't collect this $200,000 bounty on Bandito on Collision. I'm going to go collect the bounty. Bandito, meet me in the ring for a showdown. And Brian Keith yells at Renee and goes, don't you ever embarrass me in front of Chris Jericho.
That's the highlight for me of that entire interview. Brian Keith has that Ice Cube-like delivery. Please get him in a film of Ice Cube. It'd be funny. It'd be like watching it'd be like the Spider-Man meme because he nails it. That's the only light in the tunnel of what should be the bounty hunter. Brad Apple.
Yeah. So this is what then, we also cut backstage to Willow Nightingale, who's being asked about returning to Japan. She immediately gets taken out by Marina Shafir, and Jon Moxley goes and said, Cope, you're a dead man walking.
First feud. That's why it screamed to me. First feud alert for the newly minted Death Rider Marina Shafir. She's gonna face the always reliable Willow Nightingale. That's what I'm assuming.
Well, they've had interactions before, like especially when Orange Cassidy was heavily involved in the Death Rider story. Willow was the one who would back up the guys against Marina Shafir. So maybe. It's always been a bit of a question mark if Marina Shafir is ever going to actually have a match, and I'm not even necessarily advocating for it, but clearly the one that you would do has been presented. So then Chris Jericho comes down to the ring.
Okay.
Now Chris Jericho had just invited Bandito to meet him in the ring, and so he did. Bandito came out, and they got in the ring, and everybody clipped out and shared the really fun, awesome spot from Collision between Bandito, the Bandit, and bounty hunter Brian Keith, where after a long match where they just can't get the better of one another, it all builds to this. They're in the center of the ring. They stagger to their feet. They're back to back, and they kind of look at each other, and they're like, we know what to do. We agree. We agree to these terms. And they each take, 10 paces or whatever. They turn, they draw, and they go, they run. They both hit like flying drop kicks on each other. It's awesome. really fun. And a loser might say that that's hokey, but I don't care. This is exactly what I want out of my Saturday wrestling show with really cool, fun, cowboy-esque characters. You're going to do that? That's awesome. You know what's hokey? Putting a spotlight on the ring and putting sound effects in the draw and the turn and the whatever. Because Chris Jericho is so aggressively lame.
Aggressively lame.
He's so not cool, bro.
Not
they
cool.
took something that felt organic and like a really cool thing that just kind of captured people's imagination for a few days. And they're like, let's immediately do it again with the guy that no one likes 10 times worse.
I wrote down, it was so lame, corporately produced.
Yeah.
It felt like that, right?
Yeah.
You're like, you guys celebrate this holiday. We too celebrate this holiday, but let's water it down. He watered it down. He recently, he being Chris Jericho, did an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and Chris Van Vliet brought up, how did you feel with the please retire chant? Well, when you're a heel and, you know, I'm paraphrasing, you get chants like that. Isn't that the whole point? He thinks he's so effective that we don't like him as a character. We want that character to retire. Imagine that. They don't want me to retire. They want the character to retire. It's not this Chris Jericho.
Nah, bro.
No, Christopher Irvine. No, it's Jericho. I'm great.
You have aged like milk, and it expired a long time ago, brother. This is not news, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of this segment, particularly the start of it, because I can never get over the idea of you're doing a segment in the ring and there are sound effects. It's so hokey and lame. Like, so there's a guy in the truck who's putting sound effects to your actions, whatever. How does that work with the rest of the show? It doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. That's my wrestling suspension of disbelief not jiving with what they're doing here. But we continue onwards because they did not have their proper duel. They go to make the turn, and Bandito gets his leg grabbed by Brian Keith, and Jericho just comes over and they beat him down. And they beat up Bandito, and then the Outrunners come in again, and they beat up Jericho and Brian Keith, and they've kind of leveled the playing field. And then Big Bill comes down with a wanted poster, said, I'm going to collect the bounty. And he goes, and I don't know what that entails. If you just beat up Bandito enough, I guess you get the bounty. But he goes for a choke slam, and he's got him all the way up. And then Powerhouse Hobbs comes out. They do a quick little brawl. Bill gets spine busted, and the baby faces kind of stand tall. This was nothing we haven't seen already, and the things that we have seen, we've seen recently and done better.
Question. Had this bounty was executed back in December, would have the top rope in ROH collected that debt? That's what took him out.
Yeah, probably.
That's what took Bandito out for a bit. He had a concussion from dropping off the top rope. So he's like, Turnbuckle, you get this.
Nah, bro, I had an idea as I was watching this. Because, like, you know, I've gone on record saying that I do not believe that Chris Jericho is funny. And I was just like, what could you do with this thing? Because, unfortunately, Bandito's trapped in the Jericho Vortex, as we said last week. Which is unfortunate, but at the very least, it meant that we got a Brian Keith match out of it. And go watch it. Collision was really good this week.
It was so good. I watched it. Loved it.
What if Jericho does this thing where, like, Jericho says that, you know, I've doubled the bounty. This one, $200,000, Brian Keith, for you to go and beat him. And then he doesn't beat him. And he's like, okay, I'll throw another one on there. It's $300,000 to take out Bandito. And Bandito keeps winning these matches. And it's kind of like, maybe you write it into some sort of deal where Jericho says, like, every time that you win, I'm going to add another $100,000 to this bounty, and someone's going to come out here and take you out, Bandito. But what if Bandito just wins enough matches that it's literally like $1.5 million? And now Jericho's going like, guys, don't accept the bounty. I can't afford that. And you turn it into a bit. I spit everywhere. But, like, you turn it into a bit of just like, no, guys, please don't beat up Bandito, actually. He's too good. Leave him alone. You know?
That's actually not a bad idea. Whoever works in AEW that kind of snoops on YouTube channels,
yeah,
clip that and show it to Jericho. Be like, that's a great idea I've come up with. I'm gonna do that because that is actually funny. It would be almost like a broke Corbin situation, even though that drop of a hat in terms of money shouldn't be that much in his history of the company. But that's actually quite funny. Yes, Jericho of 2025 is not funny. It's like a greatest hits or a band that's past their due date, just continuing on and on.
On and on and on we go.
On and on.
But anyway, we had a little backstage bit with Cope and Jay White, who have the briefcase, and they just say that, Mox, if you want it back, meet us in the ring at the end of the show tonight. And I
do want to say something about this feud that it just popped into my head when you're describing how Mox, Marina Shafir got locked in. I was like, so Adam Copeland, because I have to say his whole government name, because it encompasses both companies by saying his whole name. Mm-hmm. He has a history of having wacky feuds. That kind of like the Kane one.
I was about to say the Kane feud.
Paul Bearer,
kidnaps Paul Bearer 6 weeks in a row.
I feel like when his feuds go wacky, that's when fans go, "Oh man, it's a bit." When he's vicious, when the feud's vicious, that's when it's like Adam Copeland's at his best. When he goes for the wacky side, that's when people go, "Oh, Uncle Adam, no, not this," because you can even argue the Seth Rollins thing breaking into his house, and that went a bit hokey. When it was meant to be psychological, but that was a bit like, oh dear, just throwing things at the wall. So it made me think, I was like, he's got a history, he's got a pattern of getting into some feuds and it goes a bit pantomimey.
Yeah. The WWE PG era was not one that many people could thrive in at the time, unfortunately.
Heck no.
Heck no. In the meantime, however, we had, I've completely lost my place there, and it's because I kept scrolling down as we had the MJF and Dustin Rhodes stuff. Dustin Rhodes had cut a promo backstage saying that he's going to show MJF that he's the last outlaw, and then he proceeded to lose that match, so which was what we had next, into the MJF and Hangman Page brawl, all of which we've already talked about at the beginning of the show. It was all good stuff. After which, however, we had Megan Bayne. McBain! That's all my brain can think about. My McBrain. She took on a local competitor who I am told's name is Maya World, and people were speaking very highly of her. So she is very clearly a standout of the independent scene of the area. And I think it was Sean. I think Sean Ross Sapp said this will be one of those times where someone years from now will be like, remember when Maya World had a little squash match on Dynamite, and now look how big of a star she is. I feel like we've seen
her wrestle before. I don't know if she was around during the Jade Cargill era, but I feel like she rings a bell. There's a point when I was briefly watching the revamped ROH under Tony Khan, and she may be there, but I've seen her wrestle before under the AEW ROH, possibly umbrella.
Very good. But yeah, this was a very simple match, very quick. This was just meant to show off Bayne's strength. Did a big shoulder tackle and knocked her down and then posed. Did lots of power spots and eventually just won with an F5. This was very simple, clean cut, squash match, solid stuff.
Night and day. That excursion is done night and day for Megan Bayne, because I used to watch the dark stuff on YouTube, and she was somewhere like, she's got potential, you know, as the in-between stuff, you can see that she's still learning, she's gonna get there. But now, man, she's like a completed individual. It's a shame the word final boss has been driven to the ground, but she's got that final boss kind of energy.
Yeah. I saw somebody say that just when she came out in the gauntlet, that she passes the eye test, that immediately you look at her and go, you feel like a star. You know, and then you watch her wrestle and it's good. And it's like, no, I can really get into this if we decide to go in a direction where Megan Bayne is heavily pushed. I don't think it will be difficult to get behind whatsoever. And speaking of which, as she makes her way to the back, who comes out for the next match? 2 women's matches in a row. What show is this? It's Kris Statlander. Now, I was, of course, expecting Thunder Rosa's music to hit at some point in all of this because they had a big, you know, brouhaha on Collision. Megan Bayne laid her out with the F5 as well, and it didn't come up here at all. So we're starting a number of different threads here with Megan Bayne, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I wasn't expecting Kris Statlander to come out next. She does. They kind of cross paths. They look at each other like, yeah, all right. Goes to the ring, and Kris Statlander's going to face Penelope Ford. They had a more competitive match than the one that had immediately preceded it, but a good one.
That's not how you say her name. Say the way you say it.
Penelope.
Chef's kiss, Penelope Ford. Every time you say that,
never forget.
Every time you say that, I don't know where you got it from, but for me, it originated with you. I was like, that's a great way to describe that.
No, Booker T said it in a podcast or something at one point.
Penelope Ford.
Yeah, he called her Penelope.
Yeah. Now it's coming back now, but still, props to me. Every time when you say it that way, it's like, yeah,
Penelope Ford.
It reads like a Penelope.
Yeah, it does. But it's a really solid little match. I thought Penelope Ford looked very impressive here. Again, it's she does well when she is on TV, but she got a lot of stuff to do in what was not a totally long match, but it was a TV match.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually Kris Statlander hit the Wednesday Night Fever and got the win. And this was, again, good stuff. I think Kris Statlander has kind of found her place a little bit again. I would have liked to have seen her continue on as a heel. I've made that clear. I made that clear through the fall. I thought that her feud with Willow Nightingale was very good, and the post was not as good because there wasn't any. There was no explanation for anything, and now we've just kind of gotten back to the bit where Kris Statlander is a babyface, but thankfully she is a very talented babyface. She is very likable, you know? So if this is going to be what gets her going and gets her to the top, I'm not going to be upset by that one bit, and it particularly looks like we're going to have a large woman versus large woman feud because Megan Bayne was not done here, as Penelope Ford kind of laid Kris Statlander out a little bit, and Megan Bayne rolled her out and hit the F5 on the floor to lay her out and end the segment. I don't know when we're going to get that match. I would assume it would be in the coming weeks, possibly at Revolution or something like that. I just want to see it.
This is Death by Snoo Promotions presents
Giant women.
Mm-hmm.
Giant.
I love me some giant women. I mean, my lady's 5'10", so I love me some tall, thick women. Yes, I do. TMI, baby, TMI.
This was really good stuff. This is a match I'm looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as soon as I saw the chat start coming in on a little monitor we've got over here, all the first chats in the live chat were coming through just before we started. I was like, we should have led with Harley Cameron, shouldn't we? Just like, it would have been a lot harder to do because there's a lot less of the show to cover when you talk about Harley Cameron with regards to this episode. But I don't know how this wouldn't have been the best thing on the show. Like, it's short, but Harley Cameron, she does this little rap music video where Mercedes Moné is being shot from the back and doing a lot of this, doing the dance and everything. And the CEO music is playing. And then, of course, turns around and it's the puppet. And you get the CEO with the puppet, like, sticking her head out the window with a bottle of champagne and all this. And then Harley Cameron does a rap to go along with the music. And I'm going to shock you all, but it wasn't bad. Like, more talented than most Australian women's rappers that I hear. And by most, I mean the one that I know, who I don't like.
Jiggy Babelio.
Yeah, that one. But where this really comes in, because, like, I would have been blown away if this whole segment was just the music video done very well, because it was being done very well. But Harley Cameron cuts herself off, and they immediately cut to just like a solo blackened interview where she's just, I guess, just a promo, just like a pre-taped promo talking right into the camera, where she just says, like, listen, Mercedes, you're one of the best wrestlers alive in the world today. I will never be able to express the gratitude I have for you elevating the women's division. And yeah, I wasn't very good at this, you know, but I also wasn't very good at singing or dancing or ventriloquism or guitar or speaking Chinese. Just throw that in there. Humble brag. She can also speak Chinese. She says, I guess I'm just a fast learner. And at Grand Slam, I don't just want to ride the Monet train. I'm going to drive it, and you are going to feel the wrath. I thought this was excellent. Every week that goes by, become more and more serious, and my timeline is getting moved up further and further to be like, at what point are we putting the main belt on Harley Cameron? Because it's just undeniable. I'm not saying we need to do this like at Revolution or something, but like I was like, oh yeah, by the end of the year, she should be women's champion. I'm like, I don't know that we should be waiting that long. She's so excellent.
Do you know what I miss? I miss when wrestling did moments. So John Alba, who I follow on X, formerly known as Twitter, he said, just do it. Just do it. Just do what, guys? You're in Australia.
Yeah.
Soak in the moment.
This is the match I'm most anticipating. Honestly.
Besides the Toni and Mariah May match, right?
No, this is the match. This is the match I care the most about right now.
Wow.
Like,
that's high compliments.
I think this card looks quite good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the Ospreay and Will tag is going to be great in terms of like the wrestling matches. Yeah.
He meant Omega before you go in the chat, all right?
What did I say?
You said Ospreay and Will. You didn't mention Omega.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's hard. There's a lot of wrestling names.
No, I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Yeah, yes.
I'm excited.
Woo!
This one though, because maybe it's just because I'm really into what Harley Cameron has been doing as of late.
I love
Maybe it's just because it's the one where I'm like, I don't think it's gonna happen, but it would be really fun if it happened. And we said on the show like a couple of weeks ago that the eventual dethroning next champion to beat Mercedes Moné just hadn't presented herself yet. I would argue now that it has.
Best feud she's had since the Willow one. With Statlander, it was a series of matches and the storylines was kind of cobbled together just to make the matches make sense.
The Camille thing didn't make sense.
No. But when she first arrived and she had that feud with Willow Nightingale, that was like, oh, like Mercedes and AEW is going to be something. And they've yet to capitalize on that. So John Albert said it. Just do it. Do what? Let Harley Cameron win the title in the upset of the century. It's been a while since we had an upset of the century. It's been a while since you had an underdog out of nowhere create stars. It doesn't have to be a 9-month or 4-5 year reign. That's not what I'm saying. Heck, she can lose the title soon as they touch foot back in the United States. It's just for that moment, you create a star. And there's layers to Mercedes Moné that we yet to tap into. Because all we've seen is she's got multiple titles. She's great, a great wrestler. So she's spitting gospel. Don't get it twisted. This is not me trying to slander. She's spitting gospel. But it comes to a point in the story. Because we follow narratives. Whenever there's a film or TV shows, anime, you read a book, there's always a transformation in character. We need to see her. Heck, they did it in WWE with Gunther, where he's lost a couple of times and now he has a crisis of faith. We need to see Mercedes desperate. I want to see Mercedes embarrassed. This rookie that you took for granted, a continuation of the Anna Jay storyline where she doesn't take rookies seriously and it bit her in the butt. It's kind of like she needs to learn something. The layers, we're looking for layers. And the layers are there, man. The gravitas is there, man. Grab it. Let Mercedes lose her mind, trying to win the title back, all that desperation, and then she wins it back. I don't mind. Like, at least Harley has that moment. She has a catch of being a former TBS champion, but that moment of her being champion, the concept, whatever, then you see a vicious side of Mercedes that we haven't seen yet. Her, like, snapping. Her trying to break down the woman that humiliated her. That's a great story to tell, because if Mercedes wins this, what's next? Who is now in the rogue gallery to face Mercedes to enhance this reign? She's had a great reign. She's elevated the title to make it equal to the AEW title, even surpass it in certain months. But sometimes, moments. Some people say WWE are moment merchants. It's true, but AEW, it's okay. Enjoy it.
You can lean into it. You can lean into it when they present themselves like this. Again, I'll echo all your points. You could have Harley Cameron win the TBS title at Grand Slam and lose it back to Mercedes at Revolution. This doesn't have to be a long run. It could be 1 month. And just, like you said, show Mercedes just like seeing red. I'm not saying squash her at Revolution, but like be vicious. Be like, you do not disrespect me, rookie. Whole thing. I personally, I would very much like to see it. I'm not going to hold it against them if they don't do it, but I'm going to be sat there anticipating and like fingers crossed that Harley could win the title.
It's there like where Mercedes does her Monet maker and 1-2 lifts her head up, bragging, just a crucifix pin. Just something like that. Her hubris is what made her lose. Kind of like Gunther and Sami Zayn. It's that hubris. And then after that, that renewed sense of vigor, like, I'm going to treat you like an actual rival, then I win the title back. That tells a story like, when she lost, it was almost a fluke because she didn't take her seriously. It's almost like the Rocky story or whatever you want to say it.
It's Tanahashi and Okada the first time.
Bingo.
Which is exactly what I'm sure we all expected this rivalry to be related to 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I saw it.
My God. We need the next Shaka and Osaka. Find us something that rhymes with Brisbane that is like a shock. Anyway.
Go chat GPT. Can you have for me, please?
Or an actual creative person. Anyway, then we had some very fun stuff again because it was the AEW Tag Team Championship match between the Guns and the Hurt Syndicate. As said in the edited review, this is a battle between two 10 out of 10 theme songs, so big props to all of that. This match played out very similarly to the Private Party match. The Private Party match, the structure was sort of different, just in that they got their big burst of offense like at the start, and then as soon as they got cut off, they never really had it go again, and then they got beat. That's sort of what happened here. There wasn't the real big, fresh out the gate burst of energy from the Guns, but that was kind of just the story. It almost, and this is absolutely me putting, you know, my own storytelling into it, but it almost felt like one of those deals where you come up with a game plan in the back.
Yeah.
And then you get in the ring and you're just like, what am I meant to do? Like, you can game plan all the time, but as soon as you're stood across the ring from Bobby Lashley, you're like, what do I do? Because they were just kind of like trying to just get away from him and stall. Like, it didn't feel like they were never in control of the match.
No.
Even when they were able to get a few, like a near fall here or there, you know, because Austin Gunn hit the Fameasser after a series of moves, and that was the closest they came to ever winning. Even at that point, it's not like they had control of the match.
No.
It was very well laid out. One of the most entertaining matches I've seen on AEW TV this year. And the people, I said that earlier, the crowd was really into this show. But the dueling chants of "We Hurt People" and "Guns Up," back and forth, this match was so heated for a match where the result was never going to be in doubt. That, to me, tells me that you have something here. It's not that they're cheering for the big title change like maybe they would have been in their Private Party thing. They're not just cheering because they got to see the big cool thing. This act is the big cool thing, and people really are really into it. That, I can't say enough good about it. It went the same way. There was a similar sort of finish. Once you got through that near fall sequence, the Hurt Syndicate just got back in the ring. Shelton threw them around. They both hit suplexes, and then Bobby hit a spear, and that was it. 10 out of 10. No notes.
Austin, Texas, give yourself a round of applause. You're a fantastic crowd, because fantastic crowds are rare nowadays to see in AEW. Which
we had a good run of them now. Atlanta into
South. I was in the South. You guys, take a tip. Sat, Nyangi, and Tempest here. We appreciate you. You guys added to the occasion, the excitement. Everyone on X, formerly known as Twitter, were raving about it. It was like a post-orgasm, post-nut clarity, smoke of a cigarette. Everyone was high off that. Like, they were like, the crowd was amazing. The action was incredible. There's no notes on my part in terms of, like, criticism. Zero.
Yeah, absolutely adored this. It was exactly what we kind of theorized it would be last week when this match was set up, and it was everything it needed to be. Thumbs up here. After the match, we would get potentially our next set of challengers, which I would have to believe lead to a different kind of match, because it's Brian Cage and Lance Archer who made their way onto the stage to potentially set themselves up as the next in line for the AEW tag titles. That will be like a big Hoss fight tag match, and I'll be really interested just to see, you know, a differing style coming up against, you know, your Hurt Syndicate tag champs. I have to imagine they're still going to win, obviously. I don't want this tag title reign to end anywhere close to the present, but this is going to be another exciting match and one I'm looking forward to.
So in my notes, I was like, man, you know, this is like my favorite Brian Cage look ever. All the other times when he tried to look like Wolverine, and I said, old man Wolverine. He's old man Wolverine. Oh. So basically, despite me wanting to compliment Brian Cage, he is doing his next evolution.
He's doing Old Man Logan. Yeah,
he's doing Old Man Logan. That's the comic book. That's the film. Because I was like, yeah, him with the spike hair, and I was like, I like the rugged beard and the thicker hair and the nondescript pants, which is anti Brian Cage, who's a very, you know, huge comic book fan. He has to look very, you know, comic book-esque, but his stripped down look, I've been a huge fan of it, and his rugged look, I've been a fan of it, but then I realized, oh, he's just doing another iteration of Wolverine. But my favorite version, he looks great.
I agree. I've always been a big fan of Brian Cage.
Me too.
Backstage, or in it was backstage, Mariah May said that everything that Toni has done, she has done better when it comes to the makeup, the matches, the performances, the cosplay, everything. Mariah May is better than Toni Storm. And she says that maybe she does love Toni because at Grand Slam Australia, she's going to give her a mercy killing.
I don't understand the allergy during Mariah May's title reign of giving her the microphone in the ring. She's been the queen of backstage or pre-tape promos. I don't understand that.
The closest we've come is one she did on the stage. And that was it.
I know.
And it's like, that's fine enough. It's close. It's in front of the live audience.
No, but I'm a woman. Yeah, you know, we made a joke that she has a certain style where she is slow. She is what's the word I'm looking for? She takes her time with her delivery. That's a style of promo which Toni Storm. Thank you. She's very methodical with her pace, and Toni Storm kind of highlighted that she's methodical with her pace. We're like, oh yeah, she does do that. That's actually true. That's you. You do that. It works for her, but still, she's very eloquent. Why she's not talking in the ring, and it's kind of annoying that they don't do that. Why she's a women's champion, for goodness sake. Yeah, acting like she's a challenger that's happy to be here. She should be, in order to make the title reign feel special. There's certain things like that that's been like a disservice to Mariah May. They should have let her do more promos in the ring. If you're trying to make men equal to women, if bloody Moxley getting multiple segments in the ring, you can do the same thing for Mariah May, but that's a minor gripe, not to take away from the entire show.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the times where they have done it, and most recently it was the show where Toni Storm revealed herself to still be timeless, and that was one of the most, talked about segments of the weekend. Of course, a lot of that will come down to that reveal and everything, but it was a really good segment leading up to that as well. So more of that, I think, would do quite well. Watch what they've been doing on Collision. They've had a very good run of Collision as of late. I'm really going to put that show over because they have been watchable. And even more than watchable. Like, you should go out of your way to watch them. They've been good shows, particularly if you want a lot of the development in storylines like this. And then we had finally our main event angle as Cope and Jay White came through to the ring. They had the briefcase, and they said, all right, Moxley, we're going to destroy this thing unless you come out here and give us a shot at the AEW World Championship. And by us, I mean Cope. And he goes out of the ring, and he gets his little case, and it's got Spike in it. He opens it up. Apparently, Spike's a girl. I didn't know if we know that. He said, but she's hungry. So he pulls this thing out. Maybe it is just Janice. Janice got a name change.
Janice.
Has the big board with all the nails in it, and he's going to smash this briefcase to pieces unless he gets a title shot. So Jon Moxley comes out, and he's getting really worked up. He says, you think I don't care about that championship? And Cope says, I don't think you care about it at all. And he's getting really worked up. He's really angry and going, all right, you want a shot at the AEW World Championship? You got it. So it's going to be Cope, Mox at Revolution for the title.
Who is this Jay White?
I don't know. I've been a little... I've just allowed it. I can't
allow it.
Beautiful
people can't.
I know.
You know who Switchblade is.
Listen, I know.
Doesn't it? You know.
I know.
It's not like
I can't get worked up about every facet of this angle that I don't like.
Bless you. I'm going to do this for you.
Just to get through the end bit of this, he said that he would get a title shot, and he's going to smash the briefcase anyway. The Death Riders run in, and they actually had like a good show-ending brawl because the staging of it was very well done, of people getting in the ring at the right times to eat moves and go into maybe try and get the briefcase, but be like, whoa, Moxley picks up the board, and all of these things, they lead into the next aspect of the brawl very nicely. Claudio and Wheeler both got hit with Blade Runners, and then Pac and Mox both got hit with spears. That was a thumbs-up opening to the show, or an ending of the show, rather, for an angle that I otherwise still don't really care about all that much, but we had progression, and I thought it was the action was dynamic and engaging. Otherwise, take it away.
Okay, I'm not going to say symbolism, but I was taking out the trash, right, in my house. And I was thinking to myself, man, after this Monk's, side quest with Cope, what's next for Cope? And I said to myself, man, Jay White, has your babyface run reached passe? The guns are back. Guns, FTR, Cope, Jay White, Trios feud, maybe. And I chucked my trash away, and I was like, Switchblade turns on Cope. Could happen, but maybe I'm Vince Russo brained. But that's what came into my head. There's multiple ways you can take this because it's kind of weird. It's like, where's Jay White is kind of selfish. He likes to bargain. He's never, in the history of New Japan, there's always something in there for him. What's in it for him to help this plucky upstart named Cope, who's been in the company for 2 minutes? His name changed. He doesn't exist from last year.
Sure.
So this guy's come out of nowhere, looks a bit like, Edge, looks a bit like Adam Copeland. He's getting a title shot. Where's his title shot? He's been in the trenches because Orange Cassidy's gone somewhere. He's gone walkies. And then you've got Darby Allin wanted to climb a mountain. And then you got Hangman Page picking a fight with someone else. He's still here. Why is he not getting a title shot? What has this guy got to do with the entire feud? Why is the Guns and Jay White pretending they're not in the same building or text each other or back each other? I hate that trope. They're in the same building. They should be backing each other despite being in different storylines. They still exist in the same universe.
I don't disagree. And honestly, when we talk about the trios feuds that could use the title, if you manage to get the trios championship onto Rated FTR,
I thought that's where we're going, to be honest,
or onto the Gun Club again, or the Bang Bang Gang, whatnot, I think all of that is like, that's a really solid little trios feud. Mm-hmm. One of the things that Cope said at the World's End press conference was that one of the goals that he has this year is to win the trios titles with FTR. So like, maybe we head in that direction. I don't know. We can't get there already.
I think we saw a promo somewhere with FTR saying they want to be tag champions again, but who knows? Everyone has their own manifesto. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can kind of cross over with one another and all that. It's good stuff. So that was your episode of Dynamite for this week. Now, I thought this was a pretty gosh darn good show.
It was
all things considered.
Good show.
I thought that the tag team title match, while not like it's not 5-star classic, but it's something different.
It's something in my house.
Yeah, it's a 5-star Road Warriors match.
I'll put that Road Warriors.
You know, it's a Road Warriors match, and this is I always say that we're missing the type of thing in wrestling that just makes me want to like tear my clothes off, run through the streets, and throw my popcorn in the air. That's the Hurt Syndicate. It gives me like the same kind of primal like, let's go that I get when I watch Braun Breaker. And maybe I just want to see like really tough, you know, beefy men like hitting mean spears and stuff. But really good. I don't think the show had a defining match quite in the same way that like last week with Swerve and Ricochet, where that was clearly a big standout match. But other than the tag title match here, I thought everything on the show, bar the Jericho stuff, was thoroughly entertaining. A very well structured episode of Dynamite. Again, thumbs up. I gave this a 4 out of 5. Let us know again in the poll. We'll be closing that just after we get through the rest of our OmegaChats, as well as our shout-outs to some very special people, those being our PledgeHammers over on Patreon, who have signed up to get their own custom wrestling nickname read out on a show just like this. You should sign up to Patreon as well, because we have a bevy of exciting content coming your way, including tomorrow a brand new episode of Patreon-exclusive Survival Series. We love that. We love Survival Series. Everybody should go watch it. It's a really fun one.
Am I in that one?
You're not in that one. No. Sorry.
I did one, right? Is it out already? Or is it going to be out? Yeah, it's out already because we're now in February. Yeah. It was out,
Yeah. You're good. You're good. Don't you worry.
I was there.
But yes, in addition to that, we have a new episode of TLC that has gone up on Patreon this month. So there's plenty of stuff in addition to all of the good WrestleTalk Extra and other content that you get as well. Monday Night War. Gotta love that. Maybe new season coming soon. There's a new game. We'll see. Either way, make sure that you sign up and at the tier to get your own custom wrestling nickname. So a big shout out to the heir to the throne, Kate Ayers. Yeah. King of the Casino Gauntlet, Kira Soltari. Yeah.
Lex sells merch.
Yeah. Manipulating Manny Umaria. Yeah.
The needs of the Manny Cornish outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah. You don't have to move it every time.
I don't know how much you can see because I'm trying.
I could see perfectly fine.
Thank you, Lord.
Greater than great, Master Nate. Yeah.
Max Kurt Wallander Wallen.
Yeah. Michael Mark for Life Plowman. Yeah.
He stole Sue's van mystery.
Yeah. The Batsman Nathan Batty. Yeah.
Probably better than Kyle Philip O'Reilly.
Yeah. And the man who wears the gold, the man recognized by SWAF Nation International as the 24/7 champion, our legend. Yeah. Thank you again to all of our PledgeHammers, but specifically the ones today at this lovely tier. Shout out to Sue as well. We miss Sue. We need more Sue on Dynamite. It's been a while. Also,
I got when I heard Sue, I was like, Sea Osprey.
No, this is just a little quick anecdote just before we get into the rest of the Omega chats. But after the first All In, we were leaving the building. We were trying to go and catch a cab, and there were like just a group of AEW people walking towards us. There was just like Miro was walking this way, and then it was like Trent and Sue and maybe Orange Cassidy, just a bunch of people. And they're all walking, and I was stood with the wonderful Holly Musgrave, who looked up and just said, "It's Sue." And I looked, and she was looking at the restaurant It's Sue, like. And for a moment, I was like, meh. And she went, "No, you got to give that to me." And I went, "No, you know what? That's like 1,000,000 to 1 odds that Trent's mom, who's known simply as Sue, is going to walk by at the exact moment that you're going to point to an It's Sue restaurant." So a big shout out to both Sue and to Holly Musgrave. Wonderful women.
Yes.
So this is your final call to get in your Omega chats. WrestleTalk.com/support. Again, $5 limit. We'll get them read out on the show. Kuzu says, Hangman might have another feud of the year contender for the second year in a row, and he still can't get a second world title run? In all seriousness, I'm glad Max and Adam are getting this feud. It's something they both need at the moment. I thoroughly agree. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm sure we'll see him as AEW World Champion again someday. I probably would have liked to have seen it again by now, but that's just me. We'll get there. We will absolutely get there. Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland is a match that will be contested over the AEW World Championship at some point. When that is, don't know yet. Misha Somra says, Sat E-Day again. Is this permanent now? Will the house keep winning? Of course, every day is Sat E-Day. Jamie Hayter's been to the UK recently. Petition for Harley Cameron to do a match or two. Imagine her at Eve or Riot Cabaret. She needs to win at Grand Slam. Also, Hangman equals God. Hashtag jam that jam. Yo, shout out to the recent Eve show. I was at that show, and it was darn good. Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor were in the main event.
Yeah.
Very good main event. Jamie Hayter pushed me out of the way during a crowd brawling section.
I would never shower if that happened to me. I'll just keep that mark on my body.
I didn't even realize it. I was like filming something for an Instagram story because they were like over here against a garage wall type deal, and I was just filming, and then all of a sudden Alex Windsor's still in my camera shot, and Jamie Hayter is an inch from me pushing me out of the way to get back to the ring, and I was just like, oh my god. Anyway,
he interacted with Jamie Hayter.
I know, right? Wow, what a mark. Goose Egg has been a member for 20 months in a row, saying, at this point, it'll be a crime if Harley Cameron doesn't win on Sunday. Love you guys. Happy Sat-E Day. Indeed. The happiest of Sat-E Days to you all. Anonymous says, I always love when AEW comes to town, Austin, Texas. The crowd energy is always top-notch. Indeed, it was. It was also another opportunity of spreading the good word for y'all to the mass. That was you with the Support WrestleTalk sign. Y'all are awesome. Have a great day. You're awesome.
You're awesome. Don't be anonymous. Say your name so we can say your name proud.
Yes. Thank you very much for the Support WrestleTalk sign.
Thank you, sir.
It was the first thing that I saw when we went to the ring for the show.
WrestleTalk sign guy, we love you.
Yeah. Rafael Garcia says, maybe the answer to all our problems is meat. You want the tag division to pop? Meat. You want to fix the women's division? Respectfully, meat. Maybe the end of Gollum. Mox's or geriatric trees reign can end with meat. A trio of meat. RB-W. I don't like Arby's, so I'm going to disregard whatever the last bit is gonna mean. But yes, generally speaking, some hosses up and down the card have really helped fill things out. Jared Hazelwood says, Hurt Syndicate are the modern-day Road Warriors. 2 dudes who squash tag teams and has a well-dressed manager. I love it. This is a trope that will work in any generation if it's done well.
Are they alluding to that MVP's Poeta ring, LOL?
Yeah, it would certainly seem so.
Get his Rocco.
No! Put Harley Cameron with the group. She's got her own Rocco. Ryan L. says, another week, another AEW show where everything hits, or at least doesn't drag. Trio's defense was fantastic. Every match for Grand Slam is exciting and hot. So many interweaving great stories being told. Dare I say, AEW's on-screen product is hot.
Yo.
We're certainly getting there.
Listen,
we're on a streak now of good shows.
There's a discourse right now that the WWE shows joining Netflix haven't been hitting, and AEW's hungry. It'd be great if both companies were great at the same time, but it all seems like you get the ball, now I take the ball. Hey, but I'm happy that AEW is finding their rhythm. They're getting the mojo back.
Listen, man, this is the show that I get to review, so I'd like it to be the best that it can be, and it has been pretty gosh darn good as of late, so I can't be upset with that. Corey Omega says, I'll show you how much I care about the AEW title, says Cope as he tries to impale the case and title before leaving without the title. Felt like Cope disrespected the title there more than Mox did. That aside, 4.5 out of 5 show. Climb faster, Darby, I beg. Is he just doing that? Like, is he just going to be on the mountain for like 2 months? I don't know how long it takes to climb Mount Everest. I know it's not like a weekend trip by any means, but I don't know. I'd love some sort of update. I don't know if he's got cell reception up there.
I still like that Lupe Fiasco's climbed it, so there is hope that Darby's not going to die. That's the only thing we're worried about, because he doesn't seem to care about his life. And if he said no rope, you strap that rope on him.
Yeah, you force him. Dylan says they have really built Grand Slam to feel like a pay-per-view. This roster is just so stacked, and there's so many interesting potential programs. Couple that with hot, smaller venues, and you get amazing wrestling television. I see a boom period on the way for AEW. I do too, and its name is Harley Cameron.
Feel the wrath.
Feel the wrath. Nick J.R. Smith says, here's my way too early prediction. Darby wins the world title at Double or Nothing, then feuds with Christian for a while. MJF wins his feud, and a couple more. World's End main event, MJF versus Darby, 2 years after MJF lost his world title to Samoa Joe. It's interesting. I mean, it's entirely possible. I don't know what the AEW world title match is going to, or the world title scene is going to look like through the rest of the year. I have to imagine that some massive match has to take place at All In Texas. I don't know what that is going to be just yet, but it's got to be something real big for the title. I don't know what that is yet. I don't have an idea. I need to go away and formulate a thought and then let it marinate for a bit.
I mean, last year we had like many options where it could have been. Everyone thought it would be Swerve versus Hangman at Wembley, or Omega if he came back in time, something to do with him, and Okada maybe, who knows. But this year, who knows, man?
Who knows?
Let's find out. It's unfolding.
Geek of Arabia says Dom versus Finn at Mania, maybe. Judgment Day's becoming a less good Bullet Club, assuming Finn thinks of himself as the leader from when he booted out Edge. Group's either going to disintegrate or Dom and Liv will replace Finn as leader, and there will be no name change. I mean, they're barely the Judgment Day anymore. We were talking about this.
They're street trash.
They're not the same faction anymore. It doesn't matter. You can call them whatever you want. I don't think it matters too much.
I just want to say I actually like the Judgment Day theme. It reminds me of old Memphis rap from the 90s. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
People are pooing it. I like it. It's just that I get it. You had metal for a long time, so to change it with a hip hop, it's kind of jarring.
I'm so happy, Kevin. Because we were talking about this, and I said maybe, just maybe, someone would ultra chat in.
I thought you were wishful thinking when you said. I was like,
I was just like, you never know with our lovely audience. But Kevin, with our final ultra chat, has said off topic thoughts on the New Beginning show. Goto finally finished his story, and I can't wait to see Tsuji and Kid in a bigger spot on the card. Hiroki Goto is your IWGP Heavyweight Champion. It's a bit of a short reign for Zach. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe he can win that back sometime. I mean, Forbidden Door is in England this year. That would be a good time to win it back in a great match with a big pop and all that. That'd be cool. Into that. That's really cool, man. I was watching this in the office this week, and this show was really good. I'm starting to feel like New Japan might be on a bit of a hot streak as well.
They've been back since last year.
They've been back. And listen, my heart will always belong to New Japan. People want to say that I'm biased. You're damn right I'm biased. I'm biased towards New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it has hurt me deeply that their product has been a bit subpar since really the start of the pandemic. I'll even, like 2019, things were still good. The product was still good. But the pandemic killed them dead, and nothing that they have done since booking-wise has really lit the world on fire. That seems to be changing, and everything that I hear about it these days is that it is a promotion worth falling in love with again. So I'm willing to be hurt. So I'm diving back in.
listen, for the longest time, I used to use Hiroki Goto as a joke about, perennial runner-ups and, never gonna achieve or get somewhere. But
Keep talking. I'm just checking the poll.
No worries. But Hiroki Goto, he's from the same generation as Shinsuke Nakamura, as Shibata, and as Tanahashi. So those guys have gone on to do great things, and it always seemed like he never quite gets to the next level. He went to G1 here and there, he went to New Japan Cup here and there, but they never let him get the ball. The only thing that's bittersweet for me, it wasn't the old lineage heavyweight title that he won, but you know what? An IWGP World title is a world title to me, so I'll take it. I'm gonna pretend that Gato doesn't have his brain ain't shot with this new lineage, but to win the title, Hiroki Goto to win the title, it's almost like, thank you for your years of service. Thank you for not like breaking down and sucking, because a lot of the people of his generation are now like past their peak and they like shell their former selves. He still hits hard. He still goes. He's been a stalwart of the tag team division the last few years, and for him to get this opportunity for his family and there's also fans, not to be dark, but there's probably New Japan fans that probably passed away to before 2025. They didn't get to see this moment, so for that to happen and for us to see in our lifetime, it means a lot. So well done to you, sir. Exactly what you said. 4 months, I think, compared to the years of other title reigns in AEW, WWE, you're used to long title reigns, like years. But 4 months is enough to sneeze at. He packed in a lot in that 4 months. He broke a lot of records, being the first Gaijin to main event a Wrestle Kingdom, defending a title, and to defend it in the Tokyo Dome back-to-back and leave and still be champion. So there's certain things that's in history that he's done, winning the G1. So there's so many things done as a British wrestler. So Zack Sabre Jr., thank you, sir. And you are a Japanese citizen, so this is not the end of the story. This is only chapter 1 of your ascent to the main events.
He will reign again, but for now, Hiroki Goto, your IWGP Heavyweight Champion, that fills my heart with such warmth, and I hope anybody else that is a fan of New Japan got to enjoy that moment just as much as I have. Thank you so much. The poll has been closed. It was 87% thumbs up, 11% in the middle, and 3% thumbs down. That equals 101%. I don't control how the math works on YouTube. It doesn't make sense to me, but I'll allow it. Otherwise, that will do us for today. Our review for the AEW Dynamite edition this week has come to a close. We will be back next week. I'm still unsure if we are doing a Grand Slam review in some form or fashion, but we will let you know imminently, I would imagine. If not, you will hear us again on our Raw review. Tuesday, Ollie and Luke will review Raw as we head towards Elimination Chamber in my home, away from home these days, Toronto, Canada. My goodness. Pains me that I can't be there. But until then, I've been Tempest. That has been Sat E Nyangi. Have a lovely and wonderful Sat E day wherever you are, and jam that jam.
And the house always wins.